Hey guys, how are you doing? I just wanted to get on here and do a quick review for you. And it's about a movie that I saw on DVD. I normally don't review movies that I saw on DVD, but this one I really wanted to do a review on because it made quite an impression on me. Even though I really wasn't gaga about the movie, there were things about it that I really, really liked. And things about it that just didn't work, but it's definitely a film that I want to talk about because it made a real impression on me. The film is called Toad Road. It's kind of in the horror genre. I wouldn't call it an out-and-out horror movie because not a lot of like really, really scary stuff happens. It's more of kind of psychological horror. But okay, let me just get into the plot of this movie, okay? It centers around the main character is this guy named James, who's a real party animal. This guy lives to party. Him and his friends, that's all they do. All day long, all day, all night. They do every drug they can get their hands on. They drink themselves silly. They puke, they pass out, they get into fights. It's just, life is just one big party, right? And apparently he's having problems with his father. His father sends him to this, I guess, counselor, psychologist to try to get him to... He says that he'll pay his rent as long as he goes to talk to this counselor, psychologist, whatever. And that's the only reason he goes, is to, get his dad to pay his rent, right? But anyway, okay, so that's the background. Like this guy and his friends, that's all they do. They're smoking pot, doing acid all the time. They do a lot of acid. They snort coke. They drink themselves silly. They do whatever, right? This is their life. And so he meets this young girl. The next major character in the movie is this girl named Sarah, who, when she first shows up in the movie, she's kind of like this real innocent, pure girl next door type who's never done a drug in her life. And she meets this group of people. And then all of a sudden, she becomes like just totally obsessed with drugs. That's all she wants to do is do drugs and explore, I guess where they take her, the kind of experience she has when she's on drugs. Like she's just like like she's a junkie. She becomes not a junkie like a street junkie, but she, like, every chance she gets when she's alone in her room, she's doing stuff. She's like, all she wants to do is do drugs and get into the psychedelia and stuff, right? So anyway, this Toad Road is an urban legend, and this film takes place in the Pennsylvania area. I think it's York, Pennsylvania, whatever. And this Toad Road is a road that supposedly, it's an urban legend, this road that was built, shit. Okay, sorry, interruption there. So, whatever. Anyway, so this Toad Road is like this urban legend. Somehow she hears about this and she asks James, they become involved. They become boyfriend and girlfriend. They fall in love and they're together and stuff. They're doing drugs together, all this stuff. So she hears about this Toad Road and asks him about it. And he says it's an urban legend in the area, York, Pennsylvania. That's where this takes place. And this road had supposedly been built behind this mental institution, and it's in the forest. It's in the woods. This trail goes through the woods, and supposedly there's like 7 gates to hell on this road, and they're literally gates, like they're metal gates, like a fence, like metal fencing. And each gate that you go through, it progressively gets worse and worse and worse, like more and more stuff happens to you when you go through this. And supposedly nobody has ever gotten past the 5th gate. Okay, so anyway, so she hears about this Toad Road, and she's like really, really intrigued by it, and she's obsessed by it, and she tells him, like, listen, I want to go there. I want to see what this is all about. I feel like I've been driven to this my whole life. So anyway, like, throughout most of the movie, you just see them kind of partying, like, they go into caves and do drugs, they party in their houses, stuff like that. So a lot of it is just mostly kind of like a low budget looking, very indie looking film. Where just, these people are just like, they're partying all the time. But then towards the end of the movie, that's when him and her go to this Toad Road place. And that's the part of the movie that I really, really got into. It was awesome, when they go to this place. that alone made the whole movie worth watching, that part. So they go through, they go into this forest, and they're going through, and she wants to drop acid when they're in there, and she wants to wait for it to get dark for them to start walking. And so they do this, or she does the acid, and then they kiss, and she puts it on her tongue and puts it on his tongue, and anyway, so she ends up kind of, giving him acid through her tongue, whatever. Anyway, they're both high as a kite, and they start going through the woods through this Toad Road thing. And each gate they go through, it's like a narration, like you hear her voice going over, explain, okay, when you go through the first gate, this is what happens. So I think when you go through the first gate, you start to feel like something is watching you. When you go through the second gate, you start to hear weird things and stuff like that, and kind of perceive more and more things around you. And I think by the time you get to the third gate, you start to see stuff. This is what supposedly is going to happen to you. So she goes through each one of these gates. She's doing this narration, telling what's going to happen. And like I said, nobody supposedly has gotten beyond this fifth gate, which is when everybody passes out. But this guy doesn't. Like, he does pass out, but he wakes up, and he keeps going. And I think he does get through all 7 gates, and she's missing. She's nowhere to be found. And by the time he reappears, after going through this Toad Road, 6 months have passed, and he has no idea of the time, because I think supposedly when you go through the 5th gate, you lose track of time. Time has no meaning anymore. There's no past, there's no present, there's no future, and you're just kind of caught in this hell, right? And so anyway, like I said, he emerges from this from the 7th gate and reemerges in civilization, and she's nowhere to be found, and everybody's looking for her, and they all suspect him of having something to do with her disappearance because they know that he was the last one who was seen with her. So I guess about the last half hour of the movie, it's kind of all about him. Like, the cops are looking for him. He's hiding out in this old dilapidated cabin that his uncle lets him stay in. And, it was just, this movie, God, I don't know how to describe it. It was just so, like, the atmosphere of this movie was so awesome. Like, it was so low key, and it was really, really creepy. Like, the part when they go into the woods, even though you don't see anything, like, you don't see demons, you don't see monsters, you don't see slashers coming out to get you. It's all just kind of like her eerie description of what happens to you as you go through each one of the gates, and them just kind of wandering around in this very dusky, low lighting type of like forest, and all the leaves are on the ground, and it's just really creepy and spooky looking. And the fact that that they're on drugs and they're going to be hallucinating anyways only makes it that much worse, right? But it was just so cool. Like, that part, I cannot stress to you enough. You guys have to see this movie just for that. It was so well done. I really, really liked it. It was great. But the rest of the movie, like I said, there's too much going on. Like, the whole drug thing, the whole party animal thing goes on for way too long. Like, they established that at the beginning in, like, the first scene where there's this crazy party going on, and they're doing all kinds of crazy shit. Like, but there's scene after scene after scene of that with them doing drugs and getting wasted and all this stuff. Like, I don't really think it was that necessary. Like, you got the idea of who these people were from the very beginning of the movie. And, I would have liked it if there were a lot more of the Toad Road stuff going on in the movie. And maybe some more visuals too. Like, they could have, spent a bit more money and put some visuals into it. But you know what? The creepiest thing about this movie, and I found this out after I watched it because I went online to see other reviews, what other people had said about it, and I did not know this, but the lead actress in the movie, whose name is, I believe, Sarah Ann Jones, let me check that for sure because that's important. I don't want to screw this up because it's a very important thing. Yeah, her name is Sarah Ann Jones, and her name was Sarah in the movie too. Anyway, she was the lead actress in the movie. It turns out she ended up dying of a drug overdose, like, right after this movie premiered. Like, talk about creepy irony, Like, here's this movie about all these people doing all these drugs and going out of their minds on drugs, and she ends up dying of a frickin' drug overdose right after the movie premiered. I thought that was really, really creepy. It just kind of added to the whole mystique and the whole weird vibe of the movie. And one of the guys who reviewed it even said that he was wondering whether it was like some weird marketing ploy. But no, it is true. She actually did die of a drug overdose. This girl, this actress, she was very young girl too, like maybe in her early 20s at the most. And they dedicated the film to her. At the end of the credits, it says dedicated to the memory of Sarah Ann Jones, the lead actress. So it was just really, really strange. Like, I think the main thing about the movie that made it so effective, like especially the part when they went into the woods, is that it was so disorienting, which it really makes you feel like you're on drugs when you're watching this movie, because you don't know what the hell is going on. You're trying to figure out what is going on in this movie. And I guess the whole movie kind of had that vibe to it. Like, you're kind of trying to figure out what is going on here. Like, it's so weird and trippy. Really, really trippy. So, you know, even though this movie was not perfect, it was, you know, it had its flaws. It was definitely not the perfectly made kind of film. I highly recommend that you guys check this out. If you like a movie that's really kind of like weird and creepy and will keep you like kind of thinking, like long after you finish watching it, this movie could fit the bill for you, because it definitely did that to me. It really, even now talking about it a day later, I still kind of have that feeling inside me after I watch it, like, wow, like I just saw something really, really unique here. And that's why I wanted to make sure to get on and do a review about it for you. So by all means, check it out. It's called Toad Road. The director is his name is James Banker. I think it was his first film. Let me check that again. He was a cinematographer, I think. 2012 independent horror film. Directed and written by Jason Banker. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess it was his first film, I'm sure. If I'm mistaken, excuse me, pardon me. But I believe that was his first film. So, I hope to see more from this guy. You know, he really, really did a great job doing that whole Toad Road thing. I just love that part of the movie. It made the whole film for me. And definitely makes it worth watching and recommending. So, check it out if you get a chance. Toad Road. Okay, hope you enjoyed this review, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.